Hello everybody, welcome to episode 18. So, let's start. Slightly different today, very bright. So, as some of you know, today the very first official training video from the Sword XP went out online, so I recommend go and check it out. If you haven't, I obviously could not, keep here to be doing stuff, so I'm just going to continue because I'm doing my training and it's in no shape or form supposed to replace what the other guy is doing or compare. So we're going to do it, right? So, we all right now in the same kind of situation. We all have to do stuff. So welcome to Thursday edition of Let's Torture Ourselves. Pants are falling down, so I might be doing something right. The warm-up. Welcome to the warm-up. I actually had very hearted conversation with the kid today about the repetition and the boringness of certain exercises. In his case it was the cursive writing, right? So why do we need to continuously do same stuff even though there could be hundreds of repetitions, 10 repetitions and stuff. Right, so the reason why we do it is so we get better, we get progressively better. By repeating the same seemingly boring exercise, you train yourself to do it almost mechanically, and it helps you to avoid constantly thinking about it. Remember the old story about Centipede, who was asked how to walk, in which order it moves its legs, and then all of a sudden it couldn't move it all because it had to actually think what it's doing. Similar process here. Once you think about where your sword should strike, or how wide the next movement should be, more naturally instinctively acting up, better it is for you. Kind of lost count here a little bit. I think I'm on the 20th. Should be about 30. So, Yes, I know I'm not supposed to do that with the surroundings and stuff, but I know I'm alone here, so Thursday, fun day. Let's talk today a little bit. Oh, how nice it is, shade. So, the bookings, the swords. So once again, the simplest movements, right? You have your cuts, you have your horizontal cuts, you have your uppercuts, and then you have your thrusts. And of course, the combinations of thereof. And then you have your blocks. With the side stepping. So when you're doing the blocks, you would be moving out from the line of attack, but sometimes it's a good fun to just kind of move the same way as the blade. If you're moving forward and not really attacking, but if you're actually blocking, you're trying to, you know, block, move a little bit, block, move a little bit. And the same way with the overhead ones, so you're doing the and you're always trying to move away unless you're trying to do the counter-attack movement where you would go actually step forward on this one, for example, right, and slide and strike, or you're doing this one and you're trying to kind of grab and push away so, and just whack. And this one is a bit more funky because you do that with the hand that is further, but you can always just kind of, you know, do it in the side, slide, starting to move the hand and then just let it slide. And then just do this. So basics, like I said, I mean we always go for the basics, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have your diagonal, strike, strike, diagonal strike with a good measure, diagonal strike just because, thrust, strike, thrust, strikes and all that. I mean it's not the same sequence as Sword XP does, but there is nothing wrong with just kind of playing around. The only reason why you want to keep it is as a number system as Adrian does, for example, right, is because it's actually easier to tell people 1, 2, 3 or 1, 3, 4, and they will know that it's, you know, the certain sequence, and it helps to show talk with the partner when it's numbers. So the problem is that some people, it's easier to go, you know, shoulder, torso, leg, and then you remember it better than numbers. But with some practice, you will get there, and you'll remember whichever preferred method of indicating of attack you like. Right. The idea for them all is that it helps you to build the choreography of the fight, and it also helps you to kind of have that built-in, you know that your attacks here, 1, 2, right? You just keep this ones or this ones. You know that all the uppercuts you block. There's the down cuts, and probably stepping as well. And you know that all of those upper ones you'll primarily just do the side ones and stuff, or you'll try to catch blade as it moves and just what's the word? Deflect. Yes. So just always kind of, doesn't matter which system you use, doesn't matter where you're coming from, just always kind of go through your regular basics, because the strength exercises that they do at the beginning are primarily just that, a strength they are to build all of this and some muscles in the legs, but they're not necessarily to polish the technique, if you like. I mean, you can use them at the same time, it's just sometimes becomes more difficult if the heavier sword is used, or heavier implement and such. So, the leg ones, you'll primarily train. There are a few things you need to kind of work on the legs, and I don't know if I move too far you don't see them, if I move too close you don't see them, so let's just do this. And you should be able to see me fit. That thing. So you have your normal stance, which is one foot a little bit forward or the other, depending on your leading hand. Sometimes you can shortcut it and do almost parallel ones. What's interesting about those is that as you start to do the thrusts, right, for example, because of what you do, kind of with this. So you need to remember that there is also that movement in the back leg, right? That kind of when you stand like this, right? So there is not enough spring right now, but if I do this, it gives me just enough torque to kind of do the jump a little bit. So always in the fight, the people saying that the best hitting points are shoulders and feet, because you can see where the people are going to move. And some people are becoming very good at it. I'm kind of not really smashing, but if you see the person doing this, right, you know they're going to kind of leap forward. If you're coming from the more of the European fencing, just regular fencing, you will often use those steps, right, where your heels are pretty much on the line whenever you move, and you will notice that your foot, the rear one, especially if you know you're in the movies, you'll notice if you're doing the good grip, right? There is that 90-degree angle versus the 45 that you would typically use, whereas the other weaponry, because with all the other ones, you do the side stepping. The 90 degrees coming from primarily from the sportish type of fencing where you hooked up by the things, and like all this major wiring, whatever it's called, and you just have to move in a very much straight line. So anyway, so then the other kind of slightly less standard blocks / deflects are those. And you notice that your hands will start kind of wanting to go this way, right? Just don't ever allow yourself to do this. If you catch yourself raising elbow too much, then you either using the wrong block for the area. So, for example, if you're something like this, probably the right way was to do that, right? There's some attack here. And it also kind of leads you to be open in a very funky way. The only time you really want to do this is when you're kind of preparing for the strike. So there are moments when you will do that, but there are very few, and you still don't want to become uncomfortable and kind of be like that. So be mindful of that. This is something else you always, what's the word, reflect upon. Having mental breakdown today. So these are primarily used if somebody doing the, the thrust at you, right? And then this is the. So basically, you're just trying to kind of swipe it away and then just whack it along the line of the blade or on the completely. And some people just don't even do thrust very well. They just do this, just get drugs it out, and then it really is open for you to attack. So anyway, so those, and there's the upper ones that are very close to the ones that I like, right? The angled ones that kind of cover your body still, but you just do them a little bit further. It's opening here, but you have to account for it, or you can just do that. The only thing is to remember that if you are unlucky enough to catch it on the weak side of the blade, it might steal it from you. What you do is that, you have more for it to travel. Always remember that it's always kind of conditional and adaptable to what you're actually trying to do. And to the opponent, because there's a huge difference between the fighting with the small person, vertically challenged one, and when you're vertically challenged one, right? Because if the guy is hitting you at this, then they're probably not going to get you here, and the other way around. And that is very much what you want to do. And you kind of want to ground yourself a little bit. You're rarely standing on the toes, apart from when you're doing fast movements. And you're rarely standing like with the arms, right? You don't have your straight arms. You always kind of angle them a little bit. Same with the legs. You don't ever want to be on a completely straight leg, because again, this is a springy way, right? So if you start to do this, it becomes harder to move and jump. So, and as you start watching movies, I swore I would not touch my face today, and I just did. As you start watching movies or TV series, things like that, try to start picking up the choreography that you used. I mean, yes, the fights are flashy, yes, some of the fights using the special effects with the shortened swords, for example, to use faster movements and stuff, but you kind of can always, well, if they're done very well, you couldn't really tell it much if you don't have enough experience, but you can start building up the arsenal of moves, you know, that are used and that you might want to try to just kind of, at least for the artistic purpose. I don't know, I have apparently very noisy neighbors moving in, so you just couldn't contain their excitement, I just have to shout. So, there you go. And the other final kind of trickish thing you might want to pick up or not, up to you, right? So one of the movements that I do when I do this, because I need to stop the blade from keep spinning, and I want to control it, because it's two-hander, it's actually heavy. So what I do, I grab it like this, basically press it against the forearm. What it does, it stops it. And then I can actually transfer it into the two hands right away, versus trying to figure out what the hell to do. So, want the repetition, here it is. And kind of as it slows down, as my hand is already here, right? And that's good if you're, you know, properly right-handed, because you do it with the right hand, and then if you do that, you end up in the right-handed hold. In my case, I might actually switch it later to the left if I want to, but I'm the weird one, so don't pay attention in holding front. Always the one hand another to me. So and the diagonal strikes are always very picturesque, right? Because this is what you picture to, you know, when your character goes through the dragons and dungeons and, you know, you run in the kobolds, right? This is what you do, you just slash them out in chunks and pieces, and that's what they are actually. They are chunks and pieces, yes. This is things that you do, right? And if executed properly, this strike cuts through. Just touching myself face again. Cuts through the shield quite well, even if it's a bit of a thick one, because there is enough power in it. And you can actually do the same kind of movements with the axe. You have the short axe. It's very similar. I mean, I showed it with the shovel other week. Right? There is actually no reason to think about these games differently. I mean, there are different handling techniques, yes, but there are certain attacks and strikes that are extremely similar. They're just extension of your arms. Let's swing it, hit it, And again, if you're just trying to, impress somebody, so these guys are very good. These guys are extremely cool if executed right. If they're not executed right, they look very odd. Yes, the difference between the wooden bokken and this. Strike the wooden bokken, I look at the bokken to see the damage. I strike this, I'm more like looking at the ground to see if I actually cut the brick. And remember, again, especially if you're trying to work all by yourself and you have enough territory to cover, always try to work in different directions. Just because it gives you a better idea on the coverage and things. Right, so yes, 86 and the sun just killing me a little bit from Siberia. What are you going to say? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Stay strong and healthy, and until tomorrow, thank you very much, and goodbye.